KPIX5 begins with California falling short on a key wildfire prevention strategy. The state not meeting its goals on controlled burns. So that leaves acres of forest land that should be thinned out in order to prevent bigger, more intense fires.
And fire experts say that's putting more of California at risk. KPIX5's Emily Turner is live in the fire zone with that story. Emily?
You hear a lot about prescribed burns, about fuel loads, and a huge fuel load at that. The problem is, for all of the buzzwords and as much as we hear it from the Capitol to these fire lines, it hasn't been a priority for decades. So there's a huge backlog of brush fueling these fires, and burning it isn't as simple as you might think. This is the new normal California faces, a year-round dire fire season. But if you ask any fire official, these flames are fueled by more than hotter, drier weather. They're also fueled by unchecked growth.
After over 100 years of aggressively suppressing all fires, we have put our forests in a state of peril.
And as a result, our communities are too. It's a situation largely of our own making, Calfire says. By abstaining from controlled burns year after year, unchecked growth has multiplied, dried out, and created a tinderbox fueling deadly, out-of-control wildfires like the one in Redding that took the lives of a 4- and 5-year-old.
I said, I'm on my way. I'll be there, honey. Just don't worry, Grandpa's here. I'm right down the road a little bit. I said, I'll be there. I just wanted to comfort him.
That same fire killed 2 firefighters and injured 3 from Marin County when flames hit a big patch of dry, overgrown brush.
Prescribed fires alone will not stop that, but it is a tool that we need to be able to use to reduce the effect of those large fires.
Cal Fire currently has a goal of burning 20,000 acres a year, a goal put into place in 2016. We got the numbers. Last year, Cal Fire came close. But look at the 4 years prior. Controlled burns fell far short of that mark.
If we had made this investment 10 or 20 years ago, we would have seen in some areas smaller, less damaging fires.
Part of that has been a funding and resource issue, Cal Fire says, but it's also come from pushback. Richard Halsey is the director of the California Chaparral Institute.
There's more fire in the landscape than the shrublands, the native shrublands can tolerate. So anything less than every 30 years, what starts happening is the shrubs, the native shrubs start disappearing, and they get replaced by more flammable grasses.
The governor has created a forest management task force trying to get everyone on the same page.
There is friction. There's friction in every agency has their goals and mission, and some of those are a little bit counter to each other.
In the Sierra Nevada, in the forests, they have missed some fire cycles, so controlled burns in those areas is a good thing. But what happens is people misapply that idea everywhere on the planet, and they blame all these fires on overgrown vegetation. And that's just not the case.
So while the task force tries to figure out the best way to execute that with all parties involved, those for or against and who simply question the practice to begin with, the governor has allocated millions of dollars towards this effort for equipment, for man hours, and also just for education of the public. Liz?
Emily, what are some of the other barriers to conducting these controlled burns that you mentioned?
A lot of it is crisscrossing goals, I think, is the best way to describe it. For example, these air quality control management districts have goals set by the EPA that they have to have low particulate matter, no pollution. Well, they get dinged for some of the pollution created by controlled burns. However, if something like the fire I'm at here, the Mendocino Complex fire, rages through their area, they're not penalized for that at all. So it might be counterintuitive, and that's one of the things that this task force is looking at. And when it comes to private landowners, one private landowner says no, well, then an entire controlled burn on multiple properties could simply be shot down.
All right. Emily Turner live for us in Lake County. Thank you, Emily.